From the Mount Clemens Racetrack, the fifth turn, this week in auto racing. Brought to you by the Mount Clemens Racetrack, Michigan's premier short track. Stan Yee's Collision, the auto repair center specializing in unibody repair. Your host, Jim Brandstatter. Hi everyone, and welcome to the fifth turn, this week in auto racing. We have a special show for you tonight. We'll continue our regular features, highlighting key races of the week, and we'll of course have our special features, looking at the behind-the-scenes aspects of Mount Clemens Racetrack, and of course our driver profiles. But this week, we're going to take a tour of the Mount Clemens Race facility in person, from the pit area to above the grandstand in the video booth. And we're adding a special feature on how you run a racetrack. It's not as easy as it may sometimes seem, but the track promoter at Mount Clemens, Cindy Winkler, has her hands full through the race season, and this week you'll get a chance to go along with her for a day in the life of a track promoter. It may surprise you the things that come up when you're putting a race series together, but that's enough from here in the studio. Let's go to the track. We are at the entrance of the pits here at the Mount Clemens Racetrack, and back there is where most of all the action really takes place, because drivers go back there and dial their cars in to make them as fast as they possibly can. Dave LeDuc is back there working on his car a lot of times, trying to make it as fast as he can. But Dave LeDuc is a little different than most other drivers. You see, he's just 18 years old, just out of high school. And yet back there in the pits is the only place Dave LeDuc would want to be.
Really, it wasn't really up to me about starting racing. It was my dad's idea. And I wasn't really going to drive this year. My brother Donnie. It was Supers and Grand Americans. They were getting a little expensive to run for us, so we were going to come down a class. My brother was going to drive. Then my brother got engaged last year, and that sort of changed things because he was going on vacation for a month, and he'd miss all that, like a month's worth of racing. So that changed a lot of things around. My dad asked me a few times, and I didn't say much. I just said, yeah, I'll try it. When I first got out there, it was sort of scary. Going into the corners that deep, it scares you a little bit. But after you get used to going in a couple times, and it just comes natural, I guess. My first one was a 4-car dash. I started on the outside pole, and first lap I took over the lead. And then after that, the one guy just got up alongside of me about to my side driver's door. And that was it. It really made me feel good to win my first race that I ever drove.
Well, I figured, you know, first day out, we're going to be fixing the sheet metal and stuff like that. And I kind of keep an eye on him, you know. He was kind of uptight. I'd say something to him, he'd jump at me, you know. So I just left it go, figuring after the race was, after he got going, got a little experience, it'd be all right. But we brought him out 2 practice weeks prior to race time. We had the car set up fairly well. We geared it kind of low so that he could get some practice on the track. So he looked pretty good. So Dave went out and turned the track faster than the oldest boy, and I couldn't get over that, you know. So I said, what do you think of that, Donnie? He says, I don't know. He said, well, let's bring him out next week and let him run a tank full of gas out of it and get him used to the quarter mile, diving on the quarter mile and a half mile. So then when we had opening day out here, I just couldn't believe it, you know.
Dave LeDuc hanging on to a narrow lead over Andy Farr. Farr pulls alongside of him as he hits turn number 3, and he backs off a bit. And Dave LeDuc is gonna take the checkered, followed by Roger Blackstock, Andy Farr, and Jim Brooks.
That is Dave's first race ever. To get a checker flag your first time is a great accomplishment. Make sure we really welcome this young man.
One minute, 35 and 49 100 the winner, Dave LeDuc.
If my car held out, I'd be here every day of the week.
for Thunderbird, the Leslie Tire sponsored car.
You're looking at Paul Schaefer in the announce booth here at the Mount Clemens Racetrack. Paul has had a lot of opportunity to mention Dave LeDuc's name in the limited sportsman class. Dave's a very good driver, even though he's very young. Let's take a look now on last Saturday. Go back to that limited sportsman race.
And Randy Shepard leads the field into the first turn. That's Dave LeDuc and Ed DeGroot. Dave LeDuc looks to the inside of Randy Shepard. Down the back straightaway they go. And Dave LeDuc tries to go out front. Action through the field. Bob Beauregard dropping back, and Dave LeDuc takes the lead. Dave LeDuc, Dennis Fetter, and Paul Freeland, Ed DeGroot, all in the hunt for the lead. And problems in turn 4. Here comes Ed DeGroot on the outside. Ed DeGroot takes the lead. Ed DeGroot, the race leader in car number 51. Dave Randa up to the number 2 spot. Then it's Dave LeDuc and Dennis Fetter. Then Paul Freeland and Jeff Metapetigan battling side by side. Ed DeGroot continues to show the way. Dave Randa starting to try to run down Ed DeGroot down the back straightaway. Now Paul Freeland makes a challenge for the 3rd spot. Paul Freeland on the inside of Dennis Fetter in turn 3. Dave Randa looks to the low side of Ed DeGroot coming off the 4th turn. And Ed DeGroot continues to hold on. We're halfway there, 4 laps in, 4 to go. It's anybody's race. Ed DeGroot out front, but Dave Randa closing. Paul Freeland also moving in. They're in turn 4, and again, Randa looks to the low side. Can't do it that time. As Dave LeDuc drops out in 35, he takes it to the pits. We have got 3 cars battling for the lead. A 3-car battle for the lead, and now Paul Freeland looks to the inside of Dave Randa. Randa again shoves it in front of Freeland, and Randa looks to the low side of Ed DeGroot. 2 laps remain as Ed DeGroot took part of the infield with them that last time through turn 4. Trying to use every bit of racetrack they can. Paul Freeland looks to the low side of Randa again. Randa maybe going to look to the low side of DeGroot in turn 4 once again. The white flag's out. We're on the last lap. The final lap, and Ed DeGroot shows the way. Then it's Dave Randa, Paul Freeland, Dennis Fetter, and Jeff Metapetigan. DeGroot builds up an advantage, but Freeland moves into challenge for the number 2 spot. They're heading for the checkered flag in turn 4. And across the line, it'll be Ed DeGroot, Dave Randa, Paul Freeland, Dennis Fetter, and Jeff Metapetigan. What an exciting finish, and the winner in car 51, Ed DeGroot takes the win. Ed's got a feature win here this year. And now he's going to take the checkered flag for winning heat race number 1 for the Stroh Limited Sportsman Division feature. He's a hard worker, the driver of car number 51, Ed DeGroot.
You're looking at the lineup to get into the Mount Clemens racetrack at the entrance of the track. So as you can see, on occasion, it can be a very tough ticket out here at Mount Clemens. We'll be right back on the 5th turn this week in auto racing, and we've got plenty of good things left for you, including a look at Cindy Winkler. She's the track promoter. We will spend a day in the life with Cindy, and believe me, it's not as easy as it sounds to be a track promoter. We'll have highlights from a mini modified race, and we'll also take a look at some demolition derby action. Y'all want to stay around for that one. But first, before we go to the break, let's take a look at the current point standings from out here at Mount Clemens. When something like this happens by accident, come to Stan Yee's Collision for quality auto body repair and refinishing. Stan Yee's Collision will handle everything from the insurance claim to guaranteeing you 100% satisfaction on the repairs they do. Only the most advanced equipment is used, including the new bench fixture straightening system, especially useful for correcting damaged front-wheel drive unit body vehicles. When searching for an auto repair shop, look no further than Stan Yee's Collision.
The Mount Clemens Racetrack invites you to a summer of fun and excitement as it comes alive with the roaring engines and the fierce competition of stock car racing. Every Thursday and Saturday night at 7:30 p.m., Michigan's premier short track features racing from 5 championship divisions: the Grand American, Limited Sportsman, high-powered street stocks, mini modified, and the women's powder puffs. The green flag signals summer fun for everyone Thursday and Saturday nights at the Mount Clemens Racetrack, I-94 and the Mount Clemens exit.
Welcome back to the fifth turn and welcome to the grandstand here at Mount Clemens Racetrack. You know, we talk about mini mods being friendly drivers, maybe the friendliest drivers on the racetrack. Well, when they get on the course, they turn into real enemies and opponents very quickly. Here's a race that shows us that friendly competition.
And the green flag's up, we're racing! Shoots into the lead early in this 12-lap event. Eric Bambard, driver of car number 9, really hooked up early on. Rick Ferguson running in second. Bill Breen running third. Breen up the challenge for the number 2 position. Harold Samuel up to challenge as well. Bill Breen now in second. Running third, Rick Ferguson. Then Harold Samuel, John Skoroff, and Bill Starowski. Here's your leader in car number 9, Eric Bambard. Car number 9 running in second, Bill Breen. Breen trying to run down Bambard in turns 1 and 2. Then it's Harold Samuel and Rick Ferguson. Bill Breen continues to close in on race leader Eric Bambard. Breen moving in towards the back bumper of Eric Bambard on the back straightaway. Bambard and Breen running 1-2. Here comes a challenge for the lead. Coming up on slower traffic, where the leader's going to go. They both choose to go way high. Eric Bambard and Bill Breen run into traffic. And Bambard continues to lead, but Bill Breen right behind him. Now Bill Breen looks to the high side of Eric Bambard. Lost a little bit of ground that time. Harold Samuel running in third, Rick Ferguson fourth. Now Breen goes to the inside of Bambard on the front straightaway. Breen on the inside to challenge for the lead. And Bill Breen, the new race leader. This time by will be 2 laps to go. Two laps to go, and Bill Breen leads Eric Bambard down the back straightaway. Flags out the field on the final lap, and Bill Breen in car number 77 shows the way. He's heading for the checkered flag. As he comes by, here he is, the winner in car 77, Bill Breen, followed by Eric Bambard, Harold Samuel, Rick Ferguson. 77 to take the checker flag, Bill Breen.
It's obvious by that racing that the mini-modified drivers leave their friendship in the pits. Meantime, you're looking at the pace car here at the Mount Clemens racetrack. Cindy Winkler, track promoter, drives this car during the racing action out at Mount Clemens. Now, you'd think that a track promoter has a fairly easy job, kind of 9 to 5, load up the stands a little bit, sell a few popcorns, get a purse going for the drivers. Well, that's not exactly it. It's not 9 to 5 at all. As a matter of fact, when 5 o'clock rolls around, Cindy Winkler's only about halfway done with her day.
The way I start my day on Thursdays, I sleep in late. That's probably till about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I normally start that late because the night before I've been either at my track or another track that's racing and picking up all the pointers I can. The day is mainly filled with office tasks, and it's just checking on things, making sure they've all been done, paying the insurance, making sure that the drivers have been notified of any notices that we need to have done. It's just a clearing up of what we need to do and what we need to make sure is settled. And then we get cleaned up, get ready, pop over to the track, and at 5 o'clock the back gates open. Once the back gates open, the drivers start coming in, and some of my advertisers may check in with me, some of the people who are our guests and our VIPs that will join us at the for the races that night. And it's just making sure that they have all the information they need, making sure the drivers understand what's going to be going on today. I go over with my key personnel what races will be running, the time frame, how much time we're going to allow for this race or that race or this division or that division. And it just progresses on, and any disasters that come up, we have to handle those right away. And then at 7:30 I go out and it's time for me to greet the people.
A nice welcome to all of you, and a special welcome to some of our very important persons who are here. This is when we ask the dear Lord to let your spirit be with these brave men and women who have come here to compete at the Mount Clemens racetrack.
I welcome them, and we start the racing, and the hard part of my job is over with. At that point, I just take any problems as they come. I try and watch as many races as I possibly can, check on all the different aspects, the souvenir stands, the concession stands, the bar, the overall running of the track in both the pits and on the track itself, and progress on and see if there's anything that needs to be changed. I might make a note of something that I don't like or something that I really like, so I can tell the people that are doing a great job what a great job they're doing, and if I find something that I'm not too pleased with, I might want to check with them and see if we can improve on it. And then we progress on until the end of the races. When the final checker flag falls, we take care of payoff, we take care of any sort of ramifications of the racing, any sort of protests that are filed, and then I get to go to the bar and have my first drink of the night, and I enjoy that, probably the best of all the whole day. It's my time just to relax and talk to the drivers on a one-on-one basis so that their job is over with, my job is over with, and it starts to be a fun part of the evening.
We're now at the grandstand entrance of the Mount Clemens racetrack, and you can see that people are heading in and out at a big number. People have been meeting by accident for thousands of years. Well, one of the funny things about Demolition Derby is that the accident is on purpose. Let's take a look at some of the action.
All over the place. Nobody's hitting the pinto. They're trying to get each other out of the race. Look at that. The pinto's sitting there upside down. And there goes somebody hitting the pinto. Watch out. They're wrecking all over. Look at all this action all over the place. And smoke pouring out. I don't think anybody can see out there. Be careful, they might run into somebody. Flames from the carburetor of one car down there. And the clock is now on 1:33. The 133 has 15 seconds left. This could make it down to the final two. And 133 is out, and we're down to the final two. This is going to be 199 Ron Hodges or 98 Woody Sequin. And Woody's waving. Woody may be done for the night. And the checkered flag comes out. Ron Hodges wins the $500. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Demolition Derby and the $500 in car number 199 from Richmond, Ron Hodges.
The Mount Clemens Racetrack invites you to a summer of fun and excitement as it comes alive with the roaring engines and the fierce competition of stock car racing. Every Thursday and Saturday night at 7:30 p.m., Michigan's premier short track features racing from 5 championship divisions: the Grand American, Limited Sportsman, High-Powered Street Stocks, Mini Modified, and the Women's Powder Puffs. The green flag signals summer fun for everyone Thursday and Saturday nights at the Mount Clemens Racetrack, I-94 and the Mount Clemens exit.
When something like this happens by accident, come to Stan Yee's Collision for quality auto body repair and refinishing. Stan Yee's Collision will handle everything from the insurance claim to guaranteeing you 100% satisfaction on the repairs they do. Only the most advanced equipment is used, including the new bench fixture straightening system, especially useful for correcting damaged front-wheel drive unit body vehicles. When searching for an auto repair shop, look no further than Stan Yee's Collision. Welcome back, everyone, and we hope you enjoyed our trip around the Mount Clemens Race Facility. And if you haven't already, you ought to get out and see it firsthand on a big racing night. It is a special occasion. Let's check out racing around the nation now. Over the weekend, the NASCAR circuit moved to Nashville, where Jeff Bodine won the Nashville 420 on their 1-mile oval. He averaged better than 80 miles an hour in winning. The Indy cars returned to Michigan this week for the Michigan 500 at the Michigan International Speedway. And to a driver, every one of these guys running the kart circuit feels this may be a better test for the racing purist, even better than Indianapolis, because of the high banks at MIS. And you'll be able to see some very fast and exciting racing that's coming up Sunday. And in other racing news, this week on the Detroit River, Jim Kropfeld and the Miss Budweiser won the Spirit of Detroit Stroh's Thunderfest for the unlimited hydroplanes. The Miss Bud won all 3 of her heats, and a big confrontation in the final never came off because Chip Hanauer in the Atlas Van Lines couldn't get his turbine power plant started and missed the championship final. But it was clear through the racing that the turbine power hydros are here to stay, as Hanauer was just a mile per hour away from a world record for a heat lap and a mile an hour away from a world record average in a qualifying heat. The mid-season championships are upon us at the Mount Clemens Racetrack. This Thursday, the Grand Americans and Street Stocks do battle in their respective divisions to see who will claim the mid-season championship. The Limited Sportsmen, Mini Modifieds, and Powder Puffs race for the mid-season glory on Saturday night. Artie Summers continues to lead the Grand Americans as he has done most of the season. Summers won last year's season championship for the late model Super Stocks, but will need a win Thursday in the feature race to secure the halfway point lead. Summers will need a win because not too far behind are Rick Shepard and Chuck Rommel, who are hot on his trail and could vault into first place should they capture the feature event on Thursday. Last Thursday, Stroh 100 had Shepard, Summers, and Rommel finishing 1, 2, 3 to tighten this year's point race. The Street Stocks have 4 contenders for their division's midseason top spot. Dave DeSmith seems to be in the driver's seat, and the midseason championship is his to win or lose. I say that because Chuck Broder, Street Stock champ from 1982, could slip past DeSmith and take the midseason victory by winning the feature Thursday night. Al Hamilton and Tom Terzo, 2 very fine Street Stockers, will give both DeSmith and Broder a real run for their money come race time Thursday. Mark Bott threatened to run away with the Limited Sportsman division by winning both features a weekend ago, before George Deacock raced to victory lane in this past Saturday's Double O event. Deacock and last year's champ Kyle Schultz will need big nights, however, to overtake Bott's commanding 24-point lead. You've got to believe, though, that none of the three, Bott, Decock, and Schultz, are conceding anything to anyone. You can be sure that this will be one great limited race come Saturday. Bill Breen, a fireman from Redford, will need to summon all his driving and firefighting skills in order to hold off a blazing run for the top by Eric Bambard and Harold Samuel in the mini-modified division. Breen leads both drivers by a good margin, but upsets happen in the sports world every day. Look for an exceptionally intense race as Bambard and Samuel, as well as the rest of the mini-mods, seek to extinguish Bill Breen's lead and overtake him for the mid-season championship on Saturday. Finally, the Powder Puff division will crown their champion on Saturday also. Kathy Tosto and Bonnie Randa have been going at it tooth and nail all season long in the race for their division's #1 spot. Tosto had a slim 4-point lead over Randa and will need every ounce of energy she has in her to retain her spot and claim the Midway Championship. This season's division's crown could boil down to whose car will hold up through the rest of the race night. Both drivers very skillful behind the wheel, but a blown tire accompanied by a black flag could be a deciding factor. So the top drivers in each division as of July 15th are Artie Summers in the Grand American, Mark Bott in the Limiteds, Bill Breen in the Mini Mods, Dave DeSmith in the Street Stocks, and Kathy Tosto in the Powder Puffs. Each of these drivers are the targets of their divisional rivals who will be gunning for them at full speed this Thursday and Saturday at the Mount Clemens Racetrack's Mid-Season Championships. Well, that wraps up things here at the Fifth Turn for you this week. We hope you've enjoyed our tour of the Mount Clemens Racetrack and will come out to the races. There are some very special events happening at the track in the coming weeks. Special events like the Mid-Season Championships this week and the Old Milwaukee 100 and the second Enduro of the season the week after. The Enduro, remember, is a 250-lap race for anyone who ever wanted to race. So until next week, I'm Jim Brandstatter. Have a great week, and I'll see you on the Fifth Turn this week in auto racing. Be with us next week on the Fifth Turn this week in auto racing. Brought to you by the Mount Clemens Racetrack, Michigan's premier short track. Stan Yee's Collision, the auto body center specializing in unibody repair.